is going to be the tutorial that's going to show you how to make these zigzag puff stitch fingerless gloves. And for this tutorial, all you're going to need is one skein, and you can make the whole pair. I used the Elise Burkham 10 ply for Australia, 4 ply for the US. Unfortunately, they don't sell this anymore in the store, so I can't really refer you to my yarn shop right now, but feel free to go there and look, because I have new colors coming in every year. And also I made these fingerless gloves to go with this beanie that I show you how to make in another tutorial. I'll also show you how you can turn this into a slouch hat in the other tutorial. So again, just like the beanie tutorial, this is going to be for a child size, but I'm going to also tell you the number that you need in order to make it an adult. But the tutorial will be showing you how to do it for a child. So grab your 5mm hook or size H hook and your skein that you want, and let's get started. Okay, to do the zigzag puff stitch in the round, the multiples are 3. So you can chain in multiples of 3 if you want to try to make a smaller size, but for child size, my daughter's 6, I recommend chaining 24. And if you want to make it for adult size, you can try to chain 30 and see if that'll work. So I chained 24, and then you want to grab your very first chain, and I'm going in through the bottom, or I should say the top, which will become my bottom in a moment. Going through that single, leaving the other 2 below, and slip stitching. And then here, if you're making an adult, you can put your hand through, see if it fits. If not, then make it bigger. But keep in mind, acrylic does stretch a little. But this is perfect size for a 6-year-old. So let me back up just a bit. Okay, so once we've got our chain and it's connected, then we'll start rounds 1 and 2, because they're going to be the same. Okay, so to begin, chain 1 and go into that same stitch where you slip stitch to form your ring, and do a single crochet, and then do a single crochet. I'm only going through 1, leaving the other 2 parts of the stitch on the bottom. So I'm only going through that top loop, do a single crochet in each stitch around, and you should end the round with the number of chains that you started with. So I started with 24, so at the end of this row I should have 24 single crochets. At the end of your row, be sure to count your stitches, and then when you have the right amount of stitches, slip stitch into your beginning stitch, chain 1, and then in that same stitch put a single crochet. Now work 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and again at the end of this row you should have 24 stitches. Again at the end of row 2, count your stitches and then slip stitch in the beginning stitch. For round 3, you want to begin by chaining 3. Then you want to skip 2 stitches. So you'll skip 1, 2, and in this third, you want to do a double crochet. Then you want to chain 2, and now we're going to be doing our puff stitch. To do our puff stitch, we want to go into this beginning stitch where we slip stitched and did our beginning chain 3. We're going to go right back into that stitch and insert your hook. Pull up a loop, and then you want to pull up to make it the distance that you can for your chain. And then yarn over, go back into that same stitch, pull up a loop, pull up. Yarn over, go into that same stitch, pull up a loop, and pull up. Now you should have 6 loops on your hook. When you do, you yarn over, pull through all 6 loops, and chain 1 to secure. And that's your first puff stitch. Now from this same stitch where you have your double crochet in, this is where we're going to be making our next puff stitch. So keep in mind, every last double crochet will be the same stitch you'll be working your puff stitch in. So from this stitch, from this double crochet stitch, you're going to be skipping 2. So 1, 2, and in the third stitch you will put your double crochet, and then chain 2 and work your next puff stitch in this stitch, the same stitch as your last double crochet. Insert your hook, pull up, yarn over. We're doing that a total of 3 times. That's 2. One more time, 6 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 6 loops, and chain 1 to secure. And again, find your last double crochet, which is here, and skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and in this third you'll put your next double crochet. And before you do your puff stitch, always chain 2, and then find that, back up and find that previous double crochet stitch, insert your hook, and start your next puff stitch. Oh, I think I did it an extra time. I did. So 4, oops, 4, and this will be the last one, 5, 6. There we go. So that's what you're going to be repeating. And again, you found your double crochet, and then you'll skip 2 and then double crochet in the next, and you'll be continuing this for the whole round. And again, chain 2 and then find your double crochet here and do your puff stitch. So continue that all the way around, and when you get up to this section, I'll show you how to end the round. I've reached the last puff stitch of this row, and now I have my beginning stitch, my chain here. This is the beginning chain 3. I'm going to use this as my final stitch of the round, and you'll be doing this every round. So go right in underneath that beginning chain 3 as if it was a stitch, and you'll put a double crochet there. And then you'll chain 2 like you always do. Find this last double crochet stitch, which is kind of close to you right now. And this is where you'll put your final puff stitch. And chain 1 to secure. And then this is, again, this is your chain 3. So you'll find your first puff stitch of the round and find the top of it and slip stitch to end the round. And that is your first round of zigzags. But to make it the zigzag puff stitch, you have to actually go back and forth, back and forth. So in order to do that, you need to chain 3 and turn your glove inside out. You're going to be doing that every round. You're going to chain 3 and turn your glove inside out to start your next round. Now, this is your very first puff stitch. You want to skip the first puff stitch and start in the second. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but you can see that this puff stitch has 2 stitches on top of it. You're going to be using the larger one farther away, not this front one, but the larger one here. Actually, no, you're going to be using the smaller one here. So we're going to be using this space. See, this is a big space. There's this little space right here on the top of the puff stitch. That's where we're going to be putting our double crochets this round. Chain 2, and then this is our first puff stitch of our round, and again we'll be using that same stitch on the puff stitch, which I believe that's the one that's created when you chain 1 to secure. You'll be inserting your hook in that one, then pull up, yarn over, and do your puff stitch as normal. Pull through all 6 loops, chain 1. Oops, there we go. Now this is the place we put our double crochet just a minute ago. So we're going to skip this one and go to the next one. Put a double crochet in that one, chain 2, then back up here again like you were doing last round, and putting your puff stitch in the same stitch where your double crochet, your previous double crochet is. So you're just going to insert right into that stitch, pull up. If you can't see something very clearly on video, feel free to go to my pattern, because I have still shots, pictures, and arrows pointing where the stitches and stuff are. So if you can't catch it here, feel free to use the pattern and the video at the same time to see it better. Now again, you skip, this is where you did your last double crochet, so you're going to skip that one and you're going to go to the next and do your double crochet. Chain 2, then again back up where we did our previous double crochet, and you do your puff stitch in that stitch. And you'll be repeating this for the whole round. And when you get back up here to the beginning, I'll show you how to end each round, because from now on you're going to be doing the exact same thing you did on this last row. You're just going to be repeating this row over and over and over again. To the very end of your round, I have one puff stitch here and unworked. I mean, I have a double crochet in it and that's it. Again, we're going to be using our chain 3 at the very beginning, and we're going to do a double crochet there, then chain 2, and now we're going to back up, and then this last double crochet here, we're going to work our last puff stitch of the round. And then again, you'll find the beginning puff stitch here, and slip stitch in that beginning puff stitch to end the round, and then chain 3, then turn your glove inside out, and you can see now how one puff stitch is facing this direction and one's going this direction. Probably a lot easier to see there. And that's because you're switching, you're doing the same thing, but you're always switching sides, so you're making one go one direction, one go the other direction, which is going to cause you this zigzag pattern that you see here. Now for my daughter total, and I think it'll be the exact same for an adult, you want to do the puff stitch, the zigzag puff stitch for 8 rounds. So, and it'll be easy to count because you can easily just count where the zigzags are. The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So when you get up to the 8th round, stop, and then I'm going to show you how to start to create your thumb. Okay. Now I'm going to pretend that I just finished my 8th row, my 8th round, and I'm going to chain 3, and I'm going to turn my my glove inside out. Now the very first puff stitch here, you're going to skip just like you usually do, and in this next puff stitch here you're going to do your double crochet, and you're not going to do your puff stitch, and by not doing that puff stitch you're going to create your finger hole right there. So what you're going to do is just make sure, okay, so you don't need a chain, you just need to go right into your very next puff stitch and go ahead and do a double crochet there too, and then chain 2 as normal, and then do your puff stitch in this previous double crochet, basically just skipping doing your very first puff stitch, and instead you're leaving that space open so that you can put your thumb in it. So the rest of the row is worked as normal. You'll skip this one because this one you just did your double crochet in, and then you'll work your double crochet, chain 2, and then you start your puff stitch. So continue that all the way around till you reach back up here on this side of the thumb, and I'll show you how to continue. I'm back here to the end, and this is the spot where I have my chain, and I'm gonna go ahead and in that same spot I'm gonna do a double crochet. This is the chain place right here. I did a double crochet here, chain 2, and then I'm gonna back up and do my puff stitch right here. Then I'm going to go and slip stitch in this very first stitch to end my row. Then chain 1 and single crochet into that same stitch, and into the next 4 stitches. Let's see, this is going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4, which brings me right back up to my beginning puff stitch. Now the next part, whoops, sorry. You want to slip stitch in this beginning puff stitch as usual to end the round, then chain 1 and go right back into that same stitch and do a single crochet, and then you want to do a single crochet in the next stitch as well. Now this next little space stitch here, you're going to skip it, and also make sure this little it's not really a stitch, almost looks like there's a chain here. You're going to skip that too, don't touch that. You're only going to be working in these 2 top clear stitches on top of the puff stitch, and you're going to be putting 1 single crochet in each one. And then again you'll skip this stitch here in between, and this kind of weird, kind of looks like a stitch but not really, so it should be easy enough to skip that and find again those top 2 stitches on the top of your puff stitch. And you're going to continue this all the way around, and at the end of this round you want to have a total of 18 stitches, and if you have more then I'll show you how we can adjust it here when we get back to the thumb. Okay. So I continued my single crochets all the way around till I reached my thumb again, and then I'm going to find my very first beginning single crochet of the round, which is find your first puff stitch here. This is where you began your round. There's my first single crochet, and you want to count 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So I have 16 stitches. Seems like every time I do this I have a different set of stitches. So because we have 16 and we want to get to 18 or close to it, I'm going to do decreases along above my thumb here. So I'm going to go into the first single crochet, pull up a loop, and then the next single crochet, pull up a loop, and decrease. So that's going to be 17. Then I'll do it again in my next one. That's 18. Now my 19th one is right here. So what I'm going to do is just kind of leave that unworked and slip stitch into this beginning stitch. Just going to skip over it and hope that it won't stick. Actually, okay, it's wanting to be a pain. It wants to stick out a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and do one more decrease. I'm going to go into that stitch, and then I'm going to go on my very first stitch of the round and do one more decrease, and then I'll just say that's the end of my round there. And let me count my stitches. I think I probably have 19. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. Okay, good, I have 18 now. Okay, got my 18 stitches here. Okay, for rounds 3 through 5, it's just going to be single crocheting all the way around. So if you have 19 stitches, that's okay, because in general you're just going for the size. So if you personally think it's too big, you can even decrease more on that last round. So once you've got to this point, I'm just going to go right into my next stitch and do a single crochet. You can mark this if you want, and with my other yarn I didn't really have to mark this one, but I think for this color I'm going to. So I'm just going to find somewhere near my first stitch here, let myself know that this is my first stitch right there. Now you're going to be putting 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and when you get back up to the beginning stitch you can slip stitch into it, chain 1, and then begin your next round of single crochets. So this next round that we're about to do will be the 3rd round of the thumb. So 3 through 5, for the next 3 rounds, put 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Get done, it'll look something like this, and then this is your little hole for your thumb. Now I did try to do some single crochets around this just to kind of give it more of a cover for the thumb, but it was coming out way too big. I don't know why, maybe it's just the yarn. So it's up to you. You could go around some of the stitches here and create a thumb for like 2-3 rows. just do single crochets around. It's up to you. But I decided to leave mine off. And that's it. Let me get the other stuff here to show you. That is it. That is the fingerless gloves. And please check out the beanie pattern for this, or you can turn it to a slouch hat like I explained in the video. So if you want to make a set for this winter for somebody you love, then this is a great new set. So thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. And also, I'm on Facebook and Google Plus, Tumblr, or any of those places. You can find me on any of the links below in the description box, and find me pretty much anywhere. So thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and share this video, and please, again, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Thank you so much.